talk, girl talk. What's better than girl talk? Girl talk, girl talk. What's better than girl talk? Chat with the ladies about their day, the ups and downs along the way. She's a cook, she's a chauffeur, she's a worker bee. First in the door and last to leave. Girl talk, girl talk. What's better than girl talk? Girl talk, girl talk. What's better than girl talk?
Welcome to Girl Talk. I'm Carol Voisin, and my co-host Regina Ayars on vacation this week. Girl Talk is a lively discussion of the opportunities, challenges, and successes of women in their daily lives. We interview women living in the Rogue Valley and elsewhere who are making a difference in our communities. Today, our topic is women returning to college. And we're going to be talking with Pam Vavra, who has completed her law degree, and we're going to find out what she's doing now with it. So she's visiting here this week, and she's working actually with women to support their legal needs. So we're going to find out a little more about what Pam Vavra is doing as she practices law both in California and Oregon. Pam, would you tell us a bit about just tell us a bit about who you are so people who didn't see part one will know that.
Sure, but first let me say what a pleasure it is to be here. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Carol,
it's
for
our
the
pleasure.
opportunity, and I'm a fan of Girl Talk.
Oh, good.
Both you and Regina. So it's great fun to be here, and I'm really grateful.
Well, thank you.
I consider myself to be the poster child for it's never too late to go back to school. Law is my third career, if you will. My first was in software engineering. Then I got involved in working with nonprofits and political campaigns. And then later I decided to go to law school. So I have two other careers behind me. And I think it's given me a different perspective and has helped me in pursuing it. So, but I went to Santa Clara Law School. After having lived here in Ashland for almost 10 years. And the original plan was that my husband would come down with me and help support me while embarking on this endeavor, and then we would come back here. But after a while, he decided he wanted to stay there. So I don't know whether we'll come back here or not, but I have so many friends here that I want to help them with their legal needs that I decided I would go ahead and get pass the Oregon bar as well. And so I'm licensed now, as you mentioned, in both California and Oregon.
Yeah.
And so I'm now developing a two-state practice.
Very good. I'm really happy to hear that, and hopefully you can develop some clients here in Ashland or Southern Oregon. Would be wonderful. And then have an office and then move down here, whatever. I have a question for you, Pam, and I'd like you to relate it to what you're doing. If I started a business and I was just doing fine, but I wasn't too sure about the contracts I was giving my employees or contracts I was entering into with other businesses or those kinds of things, and I have someone who's buying my product and they're unhappy about it. How in the world do I find out about a lawyer, and when do I need a lawyer? Can you help me with that?
Well, sure. Starting a new business is always a difficult thing to do, and the whole, as you mentioned, there are so many. There's a morass of legal issues that often arise, and so many people, particularly women or people in other underserved communities, have varying levels of access to quality legal assistance for business owners. But fortunately there's more and more help that is becoming available. One of the things that law schools have figured out is that the community that lawyers serve is changing very rapidly. And no longer is it the desired model to necessarily graduate law school, go into a big law firm, and then charge high prices in order to serve, only to help people who are already making money make a lot more money.
So
That
the paradigm is shifting.
the paradigm is totally shifting.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
and law schools are having to respond to that. And the way they're doing it is they are providing more and more opportunities for law students as they're in school to get hands-on experience working with real-world business owners to solve their issues, their legal issues, right out the door, rather than having to go to a law firm for 5 years and then eventually open a private practice to do that. So students are learning how to do that right in law school.
Did you do that?
I did. I was very fortunate. The year after I started law school, a new clinic was started called the Entrepreneurs Law Clinic.
Wow.
And I was able to take that course in my third year. And what it provided was, as a student, I worked with another student, and together we had 2 clients, and these were real-world entrepreneurs, and they had their legal issues were things like a privacy policy for their website, or an employee handbook for their employees. And we would work on their project and actually provide work product under the supervision of qualified attorneys who were our professors.
How nice.
And so the client was getting a real quality product because it was while being supervised by, real working, qualified, experienced attorneys. And yet we were getting the experience as law students. So that law clinic now wants to expand, and now 2 years after I've graduated and passed and have been working for 2 years, they've asked me to come back and as a consultant to develop a whole new clinic for them, which will be an extension of that project, but provide office hour type consulting. So
I see.
So instead of doing a 3-month semester-long product, like a shareholder agreement or whatever, like that Entrepreneurs Law Clinic provides, this will be not drop-in, but you'll get an appointment for a half-hour or hour-long consulting session.
So
anything,
you can take anything.
Any legal issue that you as an entrepreneur or a small business owner, whatever questions you have. Maybe it's to review a lease agreement that maybe you're entering into a new lease and you'd like a lawyer to take a look at it. And is this all in my best interest, or are there things that really should be changed or I should negotiate around, or hey, does my privacy policy on my website need to be modified now with there are a lot of new regulations that have come down the pike. So
Well, that's great in a town that has a law school, but what about Southern Oregon? We don't have a law school.
well, there are other organizations that do assist. There are often legal aid foundations, and many of those are branching out now. It used to be a legal aid foundation would only practice certain types of law, landlord-tenant, for example.
Right.
Now they are branching out and they're providing bankruptcy clinics or tax clinics. I don't know many of them that are actually doing law for business owners yet, but I think you're going to start seeing more of that. So it will be coming. Another project that I'm working on is to help provide more online services for entrepreneurs and small business owners, and often particularly women, by having an interactive program that you can use on your iPhone.
Wow.
Where that will permit you to indicate what legal issues you are experiencing, or just provide a little bit about your situation, and this app will help spot legal issues that maybe you didn't even realize you had.
Oh, wow.
But more than that, it will help provide information and educate you in an interactive way, so that you can determine whether you can, whether there's action that you can take today to resolve the particular issue that you're experiencing, or empower you to find an attorney that can help you if it's something that requires additional work.
But
So-
I can actually educate myself to something where I might not even need an attorney.
Oftentimes
I
that's
love
the case.
that.
But the problem right now is
You're
you
working
can
yourself
go
out of a
online.
job.
Well, there's plenty of work for
Okay.
lawyers, so I don't think that's
Okay.
an issue, to be
Okay.
honest. And and oftentimes the kind of work that lawyers want to do are the more complex things but my point is that today the tools that are available are limited. And in fact, I've had clients that want to do a lot of the work themselves. So they'll go online and they'll get a contract, maybe for even an employee agreement or something like that. And they'll come to me and they say, oh, I found this online and I'm going to use this. What do you think? Well, I'm glad they came to me, because it turns out that particular document is compliant with New York law, but not California law. All right? And so the unwary
Right.
wouldn't necessarily appreciate the differences. But that's oftentimes why you need a lawyer, is if it's in a particular area where there's a lot of variation state to state or even county by county. For example, I'm doing some work with wills and trusts and submitting deeds and things like that.
are.
And those rules and regulations vary county by county. I had one person who had property in 5 different counties, and they kept submitting. They needed to change things out because their spouse had passed away, so they needed to change the ownership of the real property into the surviving spouse's name and whatnot. But my point is that she tried submitting this to all 5 different counties, and each one came back as having been done incorrectly. And so she corrected them, sent them out again, but they came back again. And
Oh my
so what I did was I said, well, let's just concentrate on one county. And I didn't do it for her. I said, let's review what's going on and we'll do it together, all right? And we got it and we went down to the recorder's office. And sure enough, even with my help, there was still something that needed to be changed that we didn't realize
Whoa.
until we got down there, because like I say,
They're
everyone
all
is they're all
different.
different. So I held her hand through that one, but then once we got that one county squared away,
She was
now
okay?
it became clear what needed to be done in all the other counties, and
okay.
she could do it on her own.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of work that I really like to do, is just help people navigate this morass and help identify areas where there are certain things that you can definitely do by yourself. You don't need my help, but it's helpful to talk to a lawyer to find out, to be sure that you don't need their
Yes,
help.
yes.
Okay, and so that's what this app will help.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Tell me when you have it finished.
It'll be a while, but it's moving rapidly.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, and it's not my creation. I'm just
Yeah.
helping the person
Yeah.
to actually implement it.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, but it's called Legal Lucy.
Legal Lucy.
And it's brand new, and it's all in test stage right
it's in
now.
test
But you can actually go there and see how it's going to work. And in fact, the more people that would go there and help us work some of the kinks out, the better.
So where would we go?
LegalLucy.com.
Legal Lucy, all one word.
But with only 2 L's, one at the beginning and one in the middle. So it's LegalLucy.
Oh,
Legal Lucy. So it's kind of running.
LegalLucy.com. I'll do
Legal
that.
Lucy.
I'll do that.
Yeah, and with the idea is to create a fun experience as well for people who are trying to navigate it, rather than being, cold
Overwhelmed,
and,
yeah.
many of the sites that you go to that provide legal information online, they can be overwhelming, even though they're trying to help the consumer navigate legal issues and create their own legal documents. The site itself can be a little off-putting or a little overwhelming. So the idea here is to take advantage of some of the newer educational tools that you see in things like Udacity and Curiosity and just more fun and interactive ways of acquiring information and navigating new material.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Exciting. How much longer do you think it's going to take?
I don't know.
Okay,
It's
okay.
too soon to say.
Okay, but it's coming.
It's coming, and it's not the be-all and end-all either. It will
Yeah.
be one of many tools that people will be able to put in their toolbox, and then it will be linked to referrals to other organizations as well. I wanted to go back to one other thing that you mentioned about, these clinics are in law schools, but what about areas that don't have law schools? Almost every county has a bar association, all right?
Every county? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's one for Jackson County, to be honest, but there's the Oregon State Bar, and you can always go there and get referrals to attorneys that have a proven track record, and they're vetted, and they will usually provide for a low cost initial consultation. And again, more and more they are also referring out to more self-help type centers to be able to help
Because
people.
you have enough work to do already.
So there's plenty
of work to do, so you're not going to run out of work.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Any more than robots are going to start putting
Right.
people out of work.
Automation, yeah.
I mean, the whole point is to empower people, not to replace them, but to empower people so that they can go on and do more of the things that really require the human intellect and creativity. So.
The one area, especially in Ashland, that I find a lot of people talking about is that of estate planning and wills. Can you tell us a bit about that and how important it is to actually have a lawyer do that?
Well, there again, I mean, there's a lot of self-help
There is.
programs out there, and there is an awful lot that can be done by an individual without having to consult a lawyer. What I typically recommend is try to do it on your own. Do as much as you can on your own, and then you'll really get a feel for it. But then take it to a lawyer for review. And we tell that to people in business consulting as well. I'll tell people that are trying to form a company, go online, find sample partnership agreements. Don't pay me an exorbitant hourly fee to write your partnership agreement. Go out there and figure out what are all the topics that you need to include, such as who's going to do what and how are we going to resolve differences when they arise, and who's going to be putting in how much equity versus who's going to be putting in the work, and try to work all these things out between the two of you first, and then get a lawyer to help you figure out things that maybe you hadn't thought of, or come up with some creative solutions to issues that you weren't necessarily able to come to agreement on, things like that.
I really like that approach because you're putting back on me, your client, the responsibility of doing some research and saving some money. I mean, when I can save money, I'll do it. And then the final product I would bring to you and then pay you to take a look at it and
So-
give your professional opinion about it.
Another organization that I volunteer for is SCORE. I don't know if you're familiar with
Oh, I
them.
am.
And it's an organization
Tell us
that
what that
provides
stands
business.
for. Yeah.
Well, they actually ask us not to talk about what it stands for
Oh.
because it's no longer relevant.
Oh,
all right?
okay.
But it used to be a bunch of retired executives.
Right.
So that's what the R and E are. But now they're not all retired, okay? I'm a consultant, a business consultant for them. I'm not retired. It used to be almost just all old white men, and now there's much more diversity in the
Oh, good.
organization. There are a lot more women.
And you're all volunteers.
All volunteers,
Wow.
right? And we not only can we not take any pay for the work that we do, we also can't use it as a springboard to try to develop clientele or anything like that. It's strict, very strict
Yeah, that's
conflict
good.
of interest rules.
Yeah.
So so the people that are there are, you can be sure that they're doing it for truly altruistic reasons. I mean, maybe not completely, because it's very rewarding. There's a lot of pleasure that is derived from doing it.
So you do get
it's-
something out of
You
it.
get a lot out of it,
That's-
and you also hone your skills at being a consultant. And they provide training programs that are
For you?
constantly being updated. Yes.
Wow.
To make me a better consultant. Better business consultant.
Oh my gosh.
And the reason they started all this was because so many businesses were getting loans from the Small Business Administration.
Yes.
And they were defaulting on those loans.
Yes.
At like an 80% rate.
Whoa.
It was really horrendous.
Yeah.
And so
And why were they
it's just
why were they defaulting?
because they
Bad
didn't
business plan?
They didn't know how to run a business.
Oh.
They just didn't have the experience.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And do you know that I heard this statistic, and you're going to ask me to back it up, and I'm afraid I can't because it was only given to me by word of mouth, and I don't know where it came from, but I
Okay.
believe it.
Okay.
And that is that 90% of people who are the employment situation, okay, of people who are employed by small businesses.
Yes, I have heard that.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
90%.
That's
you
amazing.
You think of all the jobs as being a product of big business.
Right.
But it's not.
Wow.
90% in small businesses. And that's another thing that
Well,
I
they
want to
really need assistance, and probably a number of different
Oh yeah.
ways.
Yeah. And so you're finding more and more of these incubators
Yes.
that are also offering not business consulting,
Right.
legal consulting, financial consulting, the whole gamut. So that and I want to say something else about that though. It's easy to find help for the entrepreneurs that are going to be going after venture capital. These high-tech companies
Right.
that everybody wants a piece of. They want to see you succeed because
Right.
you're going to make them
Money
a
for
millionaire.
them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's another whole group of people that also need access to legal services and quality business consulting help, and that is the fabric of the community. It's the food truck owners.
Yes.
All right. The salon owners.
Yes.
Beauty salons. The
Restaurateurs.
coffee shops, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why my alma mater law school, Santa Clara, is moving more into that arena. All right, trying to target those communities that are underserved and truly don't have access to quality legal services.
Oh, I think that's wonderful.
So, because it's that fabric of the community that really makes a community thrive.
Yeah.
It's those
that's
mom
serving
and
the
pop
community.
businesses.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's what I think lawyers should be doing instead of
Well,
other things.
there's a lot of things that
I know.
we need lawyers for.
I know. And lawyers need a better reputation too. So
Well,
you're really helping.
You know, they're getting a better reputation.
Yes.
And I think that people are beginning to see the value of lawyers when you see them going to airports in order to protect the rights of immigrants, when you see
Right.
them going to the border towns to protect the rights of asylum seekers and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. As a lawyer, how do you cope with what's happening in Washington, D.C.? And I just have to get off topic a little.
That's okay.
Okay? Are you sure?
I'll survive.
Okay. But I've always wondered, how do lawyers cope with what they see happening?
It's not easy.
Because, I mean, it's avoiding the law. It's,
Well, without getting too
Yeah,
far into
yeah.
the weeds of politics or anything
yeah,
else.
I don't want to do that. I just, as a profession,
Well, as an
professional.
as an individual, we can always choose to look at the glasses being half empty or half full, right? And also, as lawyers, we see an awful lot of evil and injustice occurring. But at the same time, there's always a flip side to that. And you see in so many instances how our Constitution, how our Title I judges are being relied on to help right the ship. And it works, you know. It may not work as quickly as we would like, but it does, at least so far, it does seem to be working. And I guess just as an individual, for my own health and survival, I just have to choose to look at the
brighter
positive
side.
the positive side of
Yeah.
it. But I totally get what you're talking
Yeah.
about. And in fact, in going through law school, I purposely sampled a lot of different types of legal work to do, and figured out that as much as my heart was leaned toward helping perhaps victims of the prison system and wrongly convicted individuals and things like that, I personally would get too invested and couldn't cope. So knowing my own limitations was really important.
Yeah.
And that's why I decided I wanted to work more with the technology, work with companies, which doesn't mean you don't get involved in the personal. I have some wonderful clients who are maybe from other countries, and it's just very, very rewarding.
Well, this conversation has been so fun, and learning more about what you're all about, Pam, I'm very impressed. I just
can't
have
believe
to say,
that the time has gone so quickly.
It has really gone fast. So that is about all the time we have today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Pam.
It's been my pleasure.
Pam Vavra, our guest, has given us a wonderful look into what it's like to be a lawyer, to go back to school in the first part. So thank you again very much. Now, I'd also like to thank all of our volunteer crew. John Letts, our director, Wanda Borland, David Nenow, and Joseph Cuth. Thank you so much for being here and helping us out. Thanks for the Digital Media Center and SOU for hosting us. I'd also like to let you know that Girl Talk can be seen on RVTV, Channel 15 with Ashland Home Net, and on Channel 182 with Charter at 3 p.m. on Saturdays and 6:30 p.m. on Thursdays, or on demand online at rvtv.sou.edu. Click on the public access at the very top of the page, then search for Girl Talk and you'll find us. I hope you learned something today. I know I did. This was the second episode of Girl Talk with women returning to college and what the law is all about. So thank you so much for listening. Okay.
Girl talk, what's better than girl talk? Girl talk, what's better than girl talk? Chat with the ladies about their day, the ups and downs along the way. She's a cook, she's